I.S.U.P.K. 53rd Annual Lord Passover.
53rd Annual Lord's Passover is going to be held down here in Florida.
It's going down.
You're here tonight to get a chance to be righteous enough to be worthy of God coming to save you and your
That's right.
It's going down. The Lord's 53rd Annual Passover.
When we say we no cowards, we talk that business. We no cowards up in here.
Book your hotels now at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, the IHG Hotel, 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32926.
It's a lot of men down. You dealing with the men of war. We at war. I'm siding with the Lord of Lords. On one and two.
Come to all your dishes, pots, and sports knives.
Like this. This is like an apartment and a hotel. You know what I mean? This here right here is about to be holy ground. It's going to be holy ground. All our beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters from all over the world. You understand? We can boast that now. Brothers and sisters coming not only from every state, but from all over the world. I heard the numbers this year is ridiculous. We had to buy out the whole hotel.
Friday, April 15th at the Space Coast Convention Center.
My camp undefeated. You cannot debate. You just want the clout. We just want the grades. I'm just trying to get it.
This is going to be glorious.
We don't give a fuck. You can see it in our faces. Got it out the book. Straight up out the base.
Shalom, Hebrews. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. By command of Anna, the man grant the authority to be the leader of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans at this time. I want to say Yahweh Shim Yahshai Barakatah to the brothers, Yahshama Alatan Basham Yahshai to the sisters. Welcome to our Wednesday evening law class. Here we talk about, we examine the laws as it was handed down to us. All right, what we're talking about this evening now, we're talking about the temple of the Most High. You know, there are several things they said in the Bible about the temple. The Most High doesn't dwell in temple made by hands. The temple of the Most High, like in the time of David, David's hands were too bloody to build the temple of the Most High. So it was built by Solomon, his son, who did not fight as many wars as his father did, but he fought some wars, but the bloodiness of the hands building the Most High temple is, you know, how much a year one people you slew or slay. David slayed a lot of Israelites.
Right.
In establishing his throne. To establish his throne, he slayed a lot of Israelites. And because of that, the Most High did not want him to build his temple. All right, we're going to 1 Kings chapter 5.
Canada one gun. Canada one can. This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 5 and verse 1. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servant unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of David.
All right, this is Hiram. Hiram was ever a lover of David. So Hiram, king of Tyre. Tyre was a city in Lebanon, city by the sea, I think, in Lebanon, which, because it was a port city, it lasted, a port city back in those days lasted long times, you know. Cities where ships were able to come in and ships were able to go out. Moreover, Tyre was a city which the country areas or the outskirts of the city had many cedar trees and fir trees, which even unto today is required for construction.
Okay.
Today they find another one to use now, the pine tree. I don't think, well, I know it's not the cedar. Fir tree still today is used because it have wide girth. It make good wooden columns. Them first time wooden columns, many of them were fir trees. Because fir tree just grow tall, majestic trunks. All right, so Tyre now was able to provide unto us many of many of the timber that we would have needed. But King Hiram, who was over Tyre, had developed a love and respect for David. Tyre wasn't an immediate city to Jerusalem, so they weren't one of the neighbors who we had to put under subjection so that they can leave us alone. But Tyre was a lover of David. Verse 2.
Canada one can. Verse 2. And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, verse 3, thou knowest how that David my father could not build an house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet.
All right, you're kind of coming in a bit choppy. It look like
Slack, yeah.
Wi-Fi giving trouble from the other day. But anyway, right across. I don't know if they're really scrambling UPK classes out, because remember the other day we had problem from Canada to us, to some brothers who were in the States. Everybody was having Wi-Fi problem.
Okay. My signal seem a little weak right now still.
All right, mine looks strong, but at the same time I saw it circle before. All right,
yeah.
So this is saying Solomon sent to Hiram that, you know that David my father could not build an house unto the name of the Lord, because of the wars which were round about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. All right. But there was also, let's see if we can find that one. So if we get, you remember we are in, I think, Chronicles, where the Moses actually tell him that you shall not build a house for me, because their hands are too bloody.
Okay. So okay, let me find it.
First Chronicles 28. First Chronicles 28 and 3. Let me see what that says. Oh, it wouldn't be Chronicles, it would be Samuel's. Samuel's. So we can find the one in Samuel's.
First Chronicles 17. So, okay.
Want the one in Samuel's.
Okay.
We read it already. So we can find that one there. 2 Samuel 7 and 5, what that say? 2 Samuel 7 and 5.
Slakia, you have one in Samuel's, 1 Samuel 7 and 5, where it says, and go and tell my servant David, thus saith the Lord, shalt thou build me an house for me to dwell in? Verse 6, whereas I have not dwelled in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but have walked in a tent and in a tabernacle. Slakia,
All right, not that one. It was where David, he told David that his hands were too bloody. So we can find that one. All right, we'll soon find that.
First Chronicles 28 and 3 said, but God said unto me, thou shalt not build a house for my name, because
Hold on.
Slakia.
Where did that come from?
First Chronicles 28 and 3.
I know it in Chronicles, but I didn't want to use Chronicles since I would never reached there yet. But
okay,
the same story came up. All right, it's the same thing though. First Chronicles 28 and 3, where the Most High said, thou shalt not build an house for my name, because thou hast been a man of war and hast shed blood. But the many blood that David shed was the blood of his people, really. Because the Most High permit us to war them other nation and put them under subjection. All right, so back to 1 Kings 5.
Another one gun.
So it says in 3 that you know that David could not build an house unto the name of the Lord of the many wars which he fought, which were about him on every side, internally, externally. Right, verse 4.
Another one gun, verse 4. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurring.
Right, so the Most High has given Solomon rest on every side because of David, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurring. So, just like when Christ returned, Christ is the one who's going to give us rest on every side by putting them other nations under subjection.
Right.
Continue.
Another one can. Verse 5. And behold, I purpose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build an house unto my name.
Right, so the Most High says now, say to David that you're not going to build the house for me, but your son is the one who is going to build this house in my name. Continue.
Another one can, verse 6. Now therefore, command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servant shall be with thy servants, and unto thee will I give hire for thy servants according to all that thou shalt appoint. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like unto the Sidonians.
All right, hold on. Let me see something here. Turn on the sunspots. All right, so this is what Solomon.
So like it seemed like Sir Internet I get some trouble. You know what I mean? It always seemed like whenever we try to bring out the truth of the Bible, you know what I mean, the internet tend to, you know what I mean, start get trouble. But you know what I mean, we have a prayer where say open up the internet and the airwaves. So you know what I mean, no matter what them do, they can't stop. You understand? Them can't stop this truth from coming forth. Whether I cut through choppy, you know what I mean, it still have to come forth. You understand? So just be patient. Sir will come back in and continue the class. You understand? In the meanwhile, remember to like this video. You know what I mean? Share, subscribe to this channel as well, and leave in the comments. You understand? You know what I mean? We're the I.S.U.P.K. Jamaica. You know what I mean? We bring out the truth as to, you know what I mean, the identity of the blacks. You know what I mean? And even our Taino brothers as to who we are as a nation before the oppressor came and, you know what I mean, and did what he did, the enslavement that took place and the genocide that took place here in Jamaica. You know what I mean? We teach that the Taino Indians, you know what I mean, and the blacks here, the descendants of the slaves, you know what I mean, are the children of Israel. You understand? So join our classes. Our classes are on Sundays. You understand? Our classes are on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. You understand? Wednesdays, tonight. You know what I mean? Wednesday nights at 3 p.m. Slakia, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. where my brother Abida one go into the laws. You understand? Which are very important, because the reason why we are in this captivity, the reason why the oppressor have his foot on our necks right now, is because we fail to keep these laws that the Most High gave to us from the beginning. You understand? That is the why we are under such an oppressive system right now, is because these laws are not being kept, and your Christian pastor is adding, you know what I mean, gasoline to the fire by not teaching you what is actually in the Bible, you know what I mean, and actually telling you that it is okay for you to break the Most High law, like for example, eating pork and them things there, you know what I mean, telling you that the laws of Moses is done away with, you know what I mean, further keeping you in captivity, because by breaking these laws, you remain in this captivity, you understand? And we understand and know and we teach that Christianity is a tool that the oppressor uses, you understand, to keep us in this bondage. You understand? I was just watching the Durham class, just a little peek of it, and they were showing, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, in advertisements, they will show other nations being normal couples. You understand? Normal people. You understand? But whenever a black person or two black person is shown, it's always them being LGBT, because that is the direction that they want to push us in. They want to push us in the direction of being abominable against the Most High, because once we live abominable, then the Most High is not with us. You understand? Meanwhile, other nations are represented normally when they are the real LGBTQ or whatever. You understand? They are that. You understand? But they portray us a certain way. Same like Christianity. You know what I mean? They teach us to break the law. Salakia. Sir is back, so Salakia, sir. You went out for a couple of minutes.
I didn't realize.
Go on.
All right, so we're talking about the request that Solomon sent to Hiram, saying that there's none among us that is as skilled as your men in Sidonia, Tyre and Sidon.
Good.
That is when it comes to timber. So he says, send your men, my men will come and work alongside with yours. And I was saying that it's nothing new. We have this in Jamaica even today. When we were building the highway, we have the French first came out here and built the first part of the highway. Came with their engineers and equipment and thing, and our men team with them and build the highway. Then you had the Chinese that came out, and it's a similar thing. Team with the Chinese and build these highways. And the next leg of the highway now, which is the Chinese building, same thing. Chinese, you have a team of Chinese, and you have teams of Jamaicans working alongside with them. But
God.
when it comes to the timber now, you have to know how to cut the timber. Because the timber flooring is just approximately just 1 inch thick. Yet it all ton hundreds of pounds of people weight plus furniture. And it don't come down. So, you have to know how to cut the grain so that these board can withstand the weight without breaking. So that's why this is the skill that the Sidonians have over everybody in the world at the time. They were the most skilled. Right? They are the trees, they are the fir trees and the timber trees. More likely they exported it as well. All right, next verse.
Another one, verse 7. And it came to pass, when Hiram heard the words of Solomon, that he rejoiced greatly, and said, Blessed be the Lord this day, which has given unto David a wise son over this great people.
Right. So Hiram was happy to hear that Solomon accepted his offer to help him in building the Most High's temple. But after Hiram, there seemed to come some kings that were not so much with us. Remember in the, what was it, Psalms, they said, what have I to do with you, Tyre and Sidon?
God.
Because they built, because they help us to build the temple now, that they believe that they were a part of the Most High's people.
Okay.
But they are not. They were just workers in building the temple. And they were some of the more skilled workers, though, because the temple was actually built in a quarry, and then they moved the parts, really parts. They moved the timber, and the stones. So the stones would come to the temple cut already.
God.
So So you know they will have to like label them. This one goes to this corner, this one is for that cornerstone, this one is and the arch, making the stone arch, that was a skill in itself, you know. Because you have to have the keystone now to lock the arch after you set up the arch. It's one stone lock the arch, you know. And that stone have to fit perfectly as the key, right in the top of the arch.
Okay.
Sidonians were skilled. They were skilled timber makers and stonemasons, and they were under the command of Hiram, King Hiram of Tyre at the time. Right. So continue.
Another one can, verse 8. And Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, I which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all thy desire concerning timber of cedar and concerning timber of fir.
So it's cedar. You know about cedar wood.
Cancer, yes, cedar, Salakia.
Right. Cedar makes some of the best. Cedar today give us some of the best furnitures and some of the best bathroom fixtures, wooden fixtures, like you know that part you put under the face basin made of wood, the cupboard.
God.
Why is so? Because cedar, it can rot, you know, but it don't rot that easily with water.
God.
It have a tendency more to expand in water. It can hold the water better than most other timber. Pine wood is terrible with water, but cedar very good with water. Can resist water very good. So you build a house of cedar wood, cladding outside cedar. That house can last you more than your lifetime.
God.
All right, next verse says what?
Another one can, verse 9. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea in floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt receive them, and thou shalt accomplish my desire in giving food for my household.
All right, you find that even today. Find that even today. This is how it's the same way that timber is moved. When they cut them in the forest, this is how they move it from one place to the next. It cuts it eliminates the need for what you would call it now?
Varnish.
No man, equipment for large equipment.
Okay, good.
Eliminates the need for large equipment for transportation. All right, let me see if we can. How we can do this. Blah, blah, blah. All right, let me share this. You find that this is an age-old way of transporting timber. Now this is it by the sea. So we can find one with it actually floating. Alright, that thing, this is it. Oh. Hey, me say everything you search now, them push them sitting there hard, you know, man.
God.
Everything you search, you find it. Them push. I have to push so naked woman tonight, you know. All right, come back here now. Timber movement by water. This one is some timber houses, but it's not a Pinterest. All right, let me not say timber, let me say logging, because it's really called logging. Logging movement by water. All right, so this is the waterway, you know. You seen it? You seen it?
Come, sir.
All right, this is one way. Let's float the water down the rapids. So by doing this way, you know, you eliminate the need for heavy equipment.
God.
Because timber wood float in water. As heavy as it be, it floats in water. So this is the best way to transport these huge cuttings of wood from where you cut it in the forest to where you would put the mill to cut them into board. But like some places in America, you see they move timber by trailer trucks. Well, those timber now is for like light poles. Because you know, when you're making light posts now, you don't cut them in wood, in board. You have to keep them. You just cut off the bark, the outer part, and it becomes your light poles. All right, so this is what Hiram is talking about when he says, my servant shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea. So what him do now, him floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there. And it said move it by water from here, point A to point B. But one way that he could also do, he could put them on what you call a barge and pull the barge along the sea as well. Because this method here, you know, the method that kind of sometimes can be hard to control, you know. You can have accidents because this, you stand on this, on the board, and the timber, it can spin with you and throw you off.
And,
you can have accidents.
And down the line, down somewhere in the river, it can, you know what I mean, get blocked by even a rock or something, and somebody have to go find it. And
exactly, this is what happened here. They are moving, clearing the blockage right here.
Okay.
Right. So he could also remove it by what you call a barge.
Good.
But here you're reading about it in the Bible, and this is the same way that timber has been moved today. Nothing really changed. Because what else you can have? Which equipment you can rely on to move the amount of timber at the same time that the water can move? Effortless. Right? The water can move hundreds of timber. You just cut them, throw them in the river, and then float down the river and then moon down to the mill. And all they have to do is to get them out. And also, from the time it cut to the time that you would make it into board. The water also help them, helping preserving them. You know, keep them, what I say now, fresh. Let them don't dry out too fast before, because when after you put it, after you cut it into board, they have to put it through treatment.
Yeah.
So the water help preserve it from cutting to treatment. All right, so next verse.
Another one can. Verse 10. So Hiram gave Solomon cedar trees and fir trees according to all his desire.
Right, so Hiram said, all you need to give me, and don't charge Solomon for the trees, you know. He said, us give food for my whole soul.
Can.
Next verse.
Another one can. Verse 11. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year.
So the temple, I think, took about 7 years to construct. Constant floating of timber and cut stone and what the king getting out of it. All the king getting out of it is just food for his household from Solomon. There was no charge really.
Right.
Solomon said, I will pay the workers that you send. Now, when you look at the size of the temple that was built in that time, to build a temple like that today, you're probably talking about $1 billion now. Whole lot of money.
Can.
Yeah. Because you'll have to go into the wood, into the woods, find the trees for the different that will be suitable for the different pillars or the different columns that you would require. And this temple use a whole lot of column. Plus, you're going to the stone quarry to cut the stone to ship them to the area that you are going to put or build the temple. And you didn't have machine then. You didn't have any machine to crane to lift them as we have cranes today. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 12. And the Lord gave Solomon wisdom as he promised him, and there was peace between Hiram and Solomon, and they two made a league together.
All right. So this wasn't like, you know, they said Germany and Russia build them pipeline and America jump in and talk about if you invade Ukraine,
Right.
that pipeline shall become junk. Him don't have any money. Him don't have no money in it, you know. I might tell Russia about if he invade, no oil shall flow through that. And Germany said, hello. It's my money you're talking about here, you know.
Good.
So between Solomon and Hiram, there was no such animosity. For the times that they built the temple, Most High gave Solomon wisdom, because it does take wisdom to deal with another king at this kind of level. Because there could come a time where the king look and say, hold on, as so much you might get after me, man. Man, I'm going to start taxing, man. You understand?
Okay.
Nothing like this went on between Solomon and Hiram. Continue.
Another one can.
That's the way the Most High wanted it.
Another one can. Verse 13. And King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men.
Right. So Solomon got 30,000 men. That's a big workforce. And this is how we did the workforce now. 14.
Another one can, verse 14. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. And Adoniram was over the levy.
Right. So these 30,000 men didn't work at once. So it means that when it's your month to work, you go and you push work. And then you come back and you rest 2 months. That means what? Boy, you work till you're tired, man.
Good.
You go in and you work. If you understand workforce, in construction today, you understand workforce. You understand when you push workforce. And in Solomon time, these 30,000 men, they weren't slaves, you know. These 30,000 men were paid men. They were paid for their service.
Good.
But you don't work them straight, because to the work that they're expected to push, remember, they didn't have machines, you know. So the work that you're expecting them to push, they are going to, they will give you good fresh work for the first month. And then after a while, the strength will begin to wane. So what they do now, they rotate the labor force.
Good.
10,000 go in, 1 month, come back. The next 10,000 go in, 1 month, come back. So you have 3 sets of 10,000 workmen, and you rotate them. You do 1 month work and 2 months at home. During the 2 months that you are at home, the next 2 levy is going to work while you are resting. And then when it's your time to go again, you go back and you push some work. Some places use something similar to this for projects that run into like a year or more. They find ways to rotate the labor force, because in doing so, they realize the work itself is always at peak. The output is always peak. There is no, waning of the work. Don't get the work don't lag behind it. Continue.
Good. Another one can. Verse 14. Salakia. Verse 15. And Solomon had 70,000 that bear burdens, and 80,000 hewers in the mountain.
All right, so these men that bear burden, these are the men now who pull the stones and you pull them by ropes. Like I say, there's no tractor to come and take up the thing and drive over here and put it down. So how it gets from point A to point B? Men.
Right.
Pull them by ropes. You're moving some big equipment. You have to have the smaller. You would use like logs. And these logs now operate like wheel. So you put logs underneath them and you pull the stone, and so you move the logs and you roll the logs below the stone would roll along. So the stone itself is not dragging on the ground. It's rolling on logs. And these logs is not no big log, small logs, but they are round. Put them underneath it and you pull the log along, and you keep rotating these logs along the way. But you need the strong men now to pull them. So these were the 10,000 men that bear burden, and 80,000 hewers in the mountain. That are 40,000 hewers in it. 40,000 men. Jesus.
So like 80,000, 80,000.
1 score is what again?
20.
20, right.
Okay.
80,000 men in the mountains cutting.
That means the temple was massive. Slakia.
Huh?
That means the temple was massive, big.
And it takes 7 years. So you just imagine.
God.
Wow. It was huge.
God.
for you to have so many men working, even though, like I said, still you need manpower to do everything. And many of these things that you move, you would form work lines. You just pass it along down the line. So you need men for work line, you need men, and these are all the men who bear burdens. You need men to do the cutting, because it's not like now where you get the power saw, you have to go and you push saw, chop axe. When you're making the columns from wood, it's not axe you're going to use now. You have to get the saw to get a smooth cut. Wow. Continue.
Another one can, verse 16. Beside the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work, 3,300, which ruled over the people that wrought in the work.
This probably this was one of the largest workforce ever organized in our history, as Israelites,
Okay.
Besides the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work. So you have the chief over the works. Who are the chiefs now? This is like your architects, your engine. Well, the architect would have done his work already, because there was a design from the time of David time. That's how David could have built the temple, but the Most High said, nah, we don't want you to build it, because he had all the drawings and things. Because David was in dialogue with Hiram from when he was David was on the throne. So he can get all the drawings and things prepared, and put it down for my son, let my son come do it. And then put on gold and thing. Because a whole lot of gold, was on the construction of the temple, plus to pay people. And still Solomon had to include a tax. So tax the people to build the temple as well. But yeah, there are 3,300 which rule over the people that wrought the work. So these though was like your work supervisor. 3,300 work supervisors. Plus you have the chief officers who were over the entire work, your architects, your engineers, your main carpenter, your main mason, your main what do I call it now? Stone cutter, your main arch. Now, like I said, when you're doing stonework, one of the key man in this stonework is the one who make the arch. So if you have one who is skilled in making arch, him have him team, they make all the arches, which you put over the doorways. You have the key men who do all those works. And outside of those, you have 3,300 plus the 1,000 workmen that we talk about, plus the 30,000 men that rotate 10,000 at a time. That was a huge organizing of labor force. Continue.
Right. Another one can. Verse 17. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones to lay the foundation of the house.
Right. So these stones that were placed at the foundation, I tell you, costly stones. Remember, I don't really buy the stone. The stone come out of the quarry. So why were these stones costly? The time in which, all right, this is it. You need a stone a certain size to be your cornerstone. Cornerstone is what really hold the temple up or hold the buildings up, right?
Yeah.
You almost finish and then you break the stone. You start over, you know. You go and cut a different stone. So it takes time, it takes skill. From the cutting out of the mountain, you get the big stone, cut it, and you're using hand tools, you know, you're not using no electric tools, you're using hand tools.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clink, 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 chisel and hammer and thing. Then you have to transport it from where it is being made to where it is being placed without breaking it.
Yeah.
If you break it, you have to go back and build back one. And it takes time to build. All right. So huge stones to lay the foundation. 18.
Another one can, verse 18. And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone the stone squarers. So they prepared timber and stones to build the house.
Now this is another technique too to get the stone square. When you look at these ancient buildings and you get your modern square today, you drop it on it, so dead square, dead 90 degrees. And these men didn't necessarily have that square, but they use measurements. This was why you have these mathematics from the time of, well, we know that Abraham taught the Egyptians, brought maths to the Egyptians. And yet still, the Egyptians excelled in maths to build this temple. So the same Pythagoras theorem, a square equals b square, a square equals b square plus c square, something like that. And then you have the 1, 2, 3 triangle to give you the square. So you measure one part this side, one part that side, and you get a 3 part here to get a square. And you know you have a square. Listen, these instruments that you have now, you just drop and you get a square. If you ever know the maths that goes into them for it to reach where it is now.
Right.
It's like when you go on the computer and you say, what is the tangent of 90 degrees? And you just bam and press it and it just give you an answer. But remember when you were in school, they show you work it out. Okay. And it was some long workings that show you how to get the tangent of an angle, or the cosine of an angle, or the sine of an angle. So there's a lot of mathematical work into what you would have today, that you just press a button and get an answer. Okay. So what was happening in Solomon's time is not the pressing of a button to get an answer. It is doing all these work from scratch. So you see when the stone square is going and him drop him square, him give the square before you start work, or when you done work and him drop his square again. If it's not square, you have to go again. You understand? Okay. So these man, you see them mentioned here in the Bible now, the stone squarers, because they now were like, think of your prime, think of the man who you have as your top mason or your top carpenter. The stone squarers now is the man who decides that this can be used or it cannot be used. He said, nah, you have to build it again. You need to get the thing dead square. The top have to be square, because some of these stones are even like 24 inches thick. And it have to square from up the top all the way down to be in the corner, or even to be along the sides of the wall, because stone walls are thick walls.
God.
So these stones are huge, and you have to get them square. Solomon builders and Hiram builders did hew them, and the stone squarers. So they prepared timber and stone to build the house. So there's a lot of work, technical work that goes into this temple. All right, chapter 6. And when you hear about the splendor of the temple even after Solomon, it was spoken, it became the envy of the other nations, especially the our public enemy number one, the Edomites.
Yeah.
They were the ones who always want to burn down our temple. And no matter for the 2 times we burn down, them do it, under the Grecians and the Romans. They were the ones who did it. Verse 1, 6 and 1.
Another one can. This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 6 and verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord.
Right. So from Solomon was crowned king, Solomon knew that it was his duty to build the temple. And it took him 4 years to get it started. Because the planning that has to go into it before you actually start takes time. Even today, where you have so many technology to help, it takes time to plan. So imagine those days when there was no technology, everything was to do from scratch. Huh?
Okay.
Right, everything had to do from scratch. And I mean from scratch, I mean from foundation. All the works have to be done from foundation. Right, probably those papers that they would use for the drawings of the temple. Maybe they had to make the papers themselves. It's not like now where you go and you buy the vellum. Or you just go straight on the computer and do it electronically. When you make a mistake, you just press erase.
Okay.
Different thing back then. Everything had to be done from scratch. So it took Solomon 4 years to get it started. All right, continue.
Another one can. Verse 2. And the house which King Solomon built for the Lord, the length thereof was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits.
All right, so it even had floors going up.
Okay.
So 1 cubit is again 20 feet. No, sorry, 1 square is 20 feet. 20.
1 square is 20. It's
20. So 3 squares would be 3 to 60. So 60 cubits would, 1 cubit is approximately 18 inches, approximately there about 1.5 foot.
Okay.
You're talking about 60 times 1.5, that's approximately 90 feet or probably 100 feet.
Yeah.
So the length of it was, and this is the main area which was a temple. He also built rooms around on the outside. They call them, in the Bible it says chambers. And these chambers are what we call today room. You like you have a bath chamber, a bed chamber. All right, these are rooms. All right, where are we now? 2?
3 now. Another one can. Verse 3. And the porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits was the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubit was the breadth thereof before the house.
20 cubits, that they're talking about some 30 feet.
Okay.
30 by something, that's wide area, and that's just the porch before you go in the temple. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 4. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights.
Windows of narrow lights. Well, it's just window. It's not no big window, just narrow windows. You know, you have the arch, stone arch over the window area, and the window itself
Yeah, God.
going there. Continue.
Another one can. I'm slack, yes, sir. When it said narrow lights, it does not talk about the window let in only a small portion to light.
Small amount of light, right?
God.
Because how the window was then. All right, the stone arch window is not, you know, today you can have a window like 4 or 5 feet. The stone arch window wasn't necessarily that wide.
Okay,
maybe 4 feet, but bam, that's one window and then another window. It's not like now where you have a window bay area of how much feet wide.
God.
So these windows were narrow. So that's why it says narrow lights. Is nothing to say you want the light narrow because the Most High will this or that. You know, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing so divine in it.
Right.
It says it's just narrow light because that's the way it was.
God. Christian, I go read that and make it spooky, you know? Slack.
Yeah, make it seem like you needed these narrow lights so that the spirit of the Lord could be invoked in the temple and all.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's not it. It's just the size of the windows. These were specific size. Even when you look at the older stone buildings, you realize that the windows are not necessarily huge windows. They're just narrow. It might be tall, but it's narrow.
God.
All right, continue.
Another one can, verse 5. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle. And he made chambers round about.
All right, the oracle, or the section that they call the oracle, was the Holy of Holies.
Okay, God.
Which is only the priests goes in there. While it was being constructed, the workers would have been in there walking up and down and thing. But once the temple was done and we consecrate the temple, it's only the priest goes into that Holy of Holies.
God.
So he's telling you now that rooms were built on the outside. You have the Holy of Holies here, and then you have rooms on the outside round about it. So there were so many different rooms on the temple. It wasn't like, oh, you just have a church, one big church. We had rooms on the outside of the temple. Continue.
Another one can, verse 6. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the wall of the house he made narrow rests round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house.
Right. So this now is, this description is like what you would call it now, like you when you're doing in construction, you have what you call the, what's the proper word for it again, man? Where you describe the work that you're doing by words.
Yeah, God.
You have the nethermost, so you have the innermost chamber, you have the nethermost chamber, 5 cubits broad. Why was it only 5 cubits broad? And the middle was 6 cubits broad. So these were 5, less than, this is actually less than 10 feet, you know.
God.
So why were they small? Because here it says the narrow rest round about, that the beams should not fasten in the walls of the house. So It's just to cut to run the beam, the wooden beam,
God.
which is approximately maybe 10 feet or 12, 15 feet, but you don't necessarily have a beam 20 feet long. You can have a column, but a beam 20 feet long, a number of years after, it will bend. It's gonna bending moment's going to take place on it, and it will, you'll get some warping. So the thing to do then is to keep it within a certain feet, like say 10 feet. So you have these chambers there, and the beam for the floor rests up on top of there, so that they don't warp or bend. If they are too long, they are going to bend.
Okay.
So this is just the work description. Continue.
Another one, verse 7. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building.
All right, so now the question comes to, so how them fasten it? Well, what they did, that is why you had the rest, where you just come and you put on the beam, blam, and you put the floor up top. Because on the site where it was built, where the temple was,
God.
you don't hear neither hammer nor axe. No tool of iron was heard in the house. So it's like you were putting up this big temple, but you never one day hear, like now you today would be hearing some power saw and drill
and
some hammer clank, 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 clank. Right. So in those days, there was no sound of, you didn't hear any sound of workmen.
God.
But the tempo was going up. The most you might hear is chattering, and probably there was no chattering either. It was just quiet. But the house was going up, this huge house. It was so designed to be that way. So everything was actually built off-site.
God.
Come to the site and just fit up.
Slakia, sir. So it built like basically all the parts were perfectly, you know what I mean, are specifically made for, you know what I mean, for its purpose.
For each point. So you have to label every part before you actually come to the site.
Right. God.
This is why you had special men like the ones who made the squarers, the stone squarers,
God,
and your chief engineers and so on, because every part, and back then they put more pride in work than now. So you could just imagine how perfect these parts were made before they actually come to the site. So they just fit in.
God.
Everything that is supposed to fit in just drop in place. Blam. Blam. Right? Even the board for the flooring that was aloft, that was above your head, could have been made that you just come and you just fit it in. Groove. You just groove it in, and you still didn't have to drive any nail to hold it, because these walls were made so perfect that you just come and you just fit it so it can't move after. You just lock the tongue, groove and tongue style. You lock it in all the way, and then you just use some mortar to close the final part, and everything is locked in.
It's a lock, yes, sir.
Can't come out again. Yeah.
That sound like advanced construction to me. It seems like we behind time today. You know what I mean?
Like we're behind time.
Right.
Right.
That
is so true, because we are not today, we're not that perfect today.
La.
But then it was perfect
Good.
for you to build everything offsite and come and fit it up. It's a building you talk about, you know. Think of you doing something like a Lego puzzle.
That me just that says luck here. That could be like a Lego. It's luck here.
Yeah, like you just take the Lego pieces and fit them up and build what you want to build.
Good.
So these parts for the temple was built probably hundreds of miles because you cut the trees from Tyre, or even if you bring it to the shores of Jerusalem, it wouldn't even not be shores of Jerusalem because Jerusalem didn't go off to the sea.
Good.
Right? You would be in the land of Canaan, but miles away, and then you have to transport it now, these parts to the site.
Good.
With the correct labeling on it to fit it in the right position. So you have to have good engineers in the field and good engineers on the site. And you did not have communications now. They take up the phone and say, I see part C, but I don't see part D. You understand? So the communication would have to be also perfect.
Right.
Because there was no real-time communication then. So the communication probably would have to be most likely in writing, obviously, communicating in codes. Because one of the reasons for having these men being so perfect is you make the craft. All right. You hear they talk about Masonic orders and so.
Good.
Right?
Good, sir.
No, these built out of workmen with these skilled craft who had the craft, what would say, luck. They had the craft to themselves. It wasn't to everybody. I understand. So they use codes and technique and there were techniques in getting how you get a stone square. You understand? That's a technique. Look at any one of them. All right. The oldest building we can look on today is probably 300-400 years old in Jamaica. And that is brick building. They are built good too, but the bricks are much smaller. Think of a huge stone building with the stone square, dead square.
Right.
It wasn't cut on site. It's not like they put it in the building and cut it. And when you look on the edge of that building made of stone, you see one straight line going up. And all the stones were fit. And many times these stones placed on top of one another without mortar. And no matter how much rain pour outside, water don't seep in. So there was also a technique in getting these stones as smooth as glass, to sit on each other, to be airtight, so that not even water can pass through. So these were techniques which, to me, are more superior than today.
Have to be.
The only thing is that it takes time and manpower. But to me, it is a more superior way of building than today. There was way more pride being placed in the work. Yes.
So one of the things I look at when with the stones, how they are positioned or packed to build.
Right.
What kind of technology did they have at the time to get it to lift from ground level to be packed on each other?
Pulley. You know the pulley, the rope and the wheel. You use pulley and raise it from ground level. You have men pulling up pulling up, and put it into place. And if you go in 3 levels, you use pulley, put this level, and then put it to the next level. You see, the cranes that you have today is the same pulley system the cranes use. So it's the pulley system, but it's not you. The cranes are really pulley, but it's not men pulling it, it's machine.
Okay.
So the pulley was back in these days, in Bible days, would be men doing the work of the machine as in actually pulling these cables. So this is why you have much 1,000 men of burden. So the men of burden you would call him like a laborer today. So he's the one now who you get a couple of them to do the pulling daily. And so you pull your catch, you pull your catch. So when if they get tired halfway, it won't fall back. Understand me? So that is why you had so many thousands of workers, because everything was manual labor. So just imagine now you're pulling and you reach halfway and the rope break and that stone fall and the stone break. You have to build it all over again, you know. You have to build that stone all over again. So these knowledge were locked into what you call, well, you use a word like secret society, but it wasn't secret society you would call it, you know. All right, think of it being like clannish. So the Masons would keep their knowledge like a clan.
Okay.
You will have to go and join. The right word is guild. That's the word I'm searching for. So you'd have like a guild of masons, a guild of carpenters. You would have to go and join that guild in order to get the knowledge. And there are levels of the knowledge when you're going in. All right, which of our reach now?
Salakia, we reach verse 8. Canada one can, verse 8. Canada one can. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs in the middle chamber and out of the middle into the third.
All right, so even this work of building a winding staircase, this was even a craft of its own, you know.
Salakia.
And remember, these were not fastened on site. So whatever fasteners was there, probably it was just plugs made of wood again, and they would use wooden hammer to put it in place because there was no hammer or tool of iron. Axe, hammer, and no iron tool was used on the site, on the work site. So any fastening that requires it would be the wooden mallet that you would use to put a plug in place to plug to wood or board in place. You're making that winding staircase. That is, and think of our temple. That was splendid. You can just think of how splendid that winding, the pride that was put into those work in making that winding staircase. Continue.
Canada one can. Verse 9. So he built the house and finished it and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar.
So beams and cedar. So even the walls where you had stone,
yeah,
he would clad it with cedar board.
Gone.
So you still don't see any stones.
Right.
What you would see is wood. So it means then that these cedar board would have to be smooth one way, and they lock on each other basically perfectly.
Gone.
Continue.
Canada one can, verse 10. And then he built chambers against all the house, 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timber of cedar.
Right, so these were rooms that were adjoined to the temple on the outside. Rooms for storing anything, where you've got the priests, would we need somewhere for them to put on their robe, right? The temple, you would have to have a bed chamber there for the priest, so he can stay there. We read after where, some of these priests, once they were in the temple, most times they don't go home for days sometimes, once they are on duty, because prayer was like, what, twice a day, early morning and evening. The daily sacrifices. So the Levites had to be at the temple basically 24/7. So they need chambers, which are rooms that they could stay in. So rooms were built right around it, and it's not just one floor, 2 floors, because you had staircase that carry up to other levels. Continue.
Another one can, verse 11. And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, verse 12, concerning this house which thou art building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then will I perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father.
Right. So why I think the Most High come and said this to Solomon? The Most High was impressed. He was impressed at the work that we were putting and the pride in which we were putting in the work in building a temple unto him. Now, we know that the Most High don't dwell in temples built by hand, but he was impressed at how we were building. The thought of we building a house unto him, he was impressed. So he spoke to Solomon and said, boy, if you walk in my way, it's concerning this house where I build. If you walk in my statutes, execute my judgment, means follow my laws, judge the people according to these laws, and keep all the commandments that will give you, to walk in them, I will perform my word with thee, which I speak unto David, meaning I will not leave you. 13.
Another one can, verse 13. And I will dwell among the children of Israel and will not forsake my people Israel.
And everywhere in the Bible you read, the Most High tell you that the children of Israel is his people.
Right.
And yet still when you come down into the New Testament, the oppressor has done such twists so that you believe that the Most High's people is all mankind, which in a way is always saying that my people Israel.
Right.
But some realize now and they say, oh, you can be a spiritual Israelite. So in other words, these nations want to be called by God's name so much, but at the same time, all right, think of me now, or somebody telling you every day, boy, I'm a rate, I'm a this, I'm a that. But they are, when they come in contact with things that are yours, that belong to you, they treat it with scant regard. They don't regard it.
Right.
They drive your vehicle and them, they might knock up your vehicle. They don't treat your vehicle with any respect. Nothing that you own, they treat it with respect. But at the same time, they are going to tell you that we love you, we rate you too, Well, this is how the heathens behave. They want to be called by God's name. They want to be going in a temple crying out unto God. But when they see you, the Israelite, you is the worst sore eye, the worst sight of sore eyes unto them. and they have the funds that can change your lifestyle, and they are not doing it.
Good.
So how are they going to say that they love God? That is why in the scripture they say, and the heathens that are called by my name, he's going to give those heathens to his people to be servants.
Right.
Things as you want called by God's name, go and serve my people and show that you love me. All right. So it's just like even among us, a priest, how does a priest show that he loves God? By carrying out his priestly duty unto God's people. How does a king show that he loves God? Judge the people according to God's law.
Good.
Show love for God by showing the love for the people. This is why Christ had so many words against the scribes and the Pharisees, because they come and talk about God, 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 but they had no regards for God's people and for the things that are really of God. Their regard was unto themselves. And this
Right.
is that is why him say God sees the heart, because you're putting on the show in front of people, but deep down, God knows you don't like him.
Right.
All right, next verse.
Another one gun, verse 16. And he built 20 cubits on the side, Salakia.
14.
Salakia, verse 14. So Solomon built the house and finished it. Verse 15. And he built the walls of the house within with boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and with the walls of the ceiling. And he covered them on the inside with wood and covered the floor of the house with planks of fir.
Right. So it was wooden floor. So it was floor on top and ceiling. That same floor was ceiling to this room below. That's basically what it was.
Good.
16.
Another one can, verse 16. And he built 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls with boards of cedar. He even built them for it within, even for the oracle, even for the most holy place.
Right, so the oracle was the most holy place, the place that we call the holies of holies.
Right.
17.
Another one can, verse 17. And the house that is the temple before it was 40 cubits long. Salakia. Verse 18. And the cedar of the house within was carved with knops and open flowers. All was cedar. There was no stone seen.
Right. So even though the building was made of stone,
God.
the cedar boards hid the stones. So when you look, the floor, you would see wooden floor here, and then you would see the cedar walls going up, cedar board walls going up. Behind that wall, cedar wall, would be the actual stone structure, in which the next floor that is above here now was the beams would rest on that wall and not the cedar board. The cedar board was used as like a cladding. Yeah, smooth finish inside. And then there was something else that they put on the cedar board, which we're going to read about shortly to continue.
Another one can. Verse 19. And the oracle he prepared in the house within to set there the ark of the covenant of the Lord. Verse 20. And the oracle, another one can. And the oracle in the forepart was 20 cubits in length, and 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and so covered the altar which was over of cedar. Salakia.
And so covered up?
Salakia. And so covered the altar which was of cedar.
Okay. So this wasn't the altar which you do the sacrifice. This was a different altar because this one was covered with cedar.
Good.
So it was a lot of work. Remember, thousands of men hewing timber out there in the forest. All right, so continue.
Another one can. Verse 21. So Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold, and he made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold.
All right, now this is the interesting part now. So this part now is coming up to the, you know, like when you're finishing the building and you're putting on the paint now, or what's the name again? Or the trowel on.
Yeah. Okay.
Guess what he used to do that fish work on the temple? Gold. So think of you putting on some trowel on the building, and that trowel on is what? Gold. Oh, every workman knows it. Boy, not only is that not easy to do, but damn, you talk about some money there. You know?
Okay.
You're talking about monies to use to build a wall, a gold. It's not a gold paint you're using, or what do they call it? Wash over. What the next word they call wash over gold again?
Gold plate, something like that. So
right, I not gold plated. You know, this is real gold.
Salakia, it's a pure gold.
Yeah, using the real pure gold too. So you can imagine when that gold shine and that candlelight hit those walls.
Mm-hmm.
How inside the temple look. Damn. This was why it became the envy of the heathens, because of the way that we built it. There was no other temple that was built in this splendor. This temple was like no other temple on the face of the earth. All right, read on.
Another one can. Verse 22. And the whole house he overlaid with gold until he had finished all the house. Also the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid with gold.
No, you know, each time I read this, I wonder, where Solomon get so much gold? We know that David left gold to him too, but and then the next question we ask you, you're talking about tons of gold, you know, because this place wasn't small, you know. Right? It wasn't a small temple, it was huge. And to have these walls inside, cladded with gold, different from the golden cups and so the golden chalice and things that we had. Where the heck is all those golds today? I would really like to know, you know, where it must be. Gold is not something that Can rotten. It is somewhere in the world.
Can.
Where is all those gold? We know that the last country to come and overthrow is Rome. So we know so Rome should have some of the temple, at least some of the gold. But me don't know, maybe they melt up a lot of these gold and turn it into some other jewelry or something else. But I know that gold cannot rotten. So it must be somewhere. Continue reading.
Canada 1 can, verse 23. And within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, each 10 cubits high.
10 cubits high, that's approximately 15 feet. That's bigger than the normal man.
Can.
So it's like he make 2 giant man carve out, put inside where? Where was that?
Within the oracle.
Right, within the holies of holies, you have 2 big winged angels inside the temple. So, you know, today, in today's date, when they talk about aliens and things, but when we were in our society, our country, we didn't call them aliens because we know what they were. They were angels of the Most High.
Right.
So we have them. We didn't bow down to them, but we have them within. There was 2 huge ones within what we call the holies of holies, the place where only the priests. And a matter of fact, you know, when the priest was going in the holies of holies, he was to tie a cord around in his waist, and he would put a bell on him. So when they're moving around in there, you can hear the bell jingling, jingling. Anytime you hear that bell stop jingling, then you better just draw the rope and draw him out. Nobody can go in their feet. Yet still, when the heathens invade our places, they were able to go in there. So what does that tell you?
That the Most High had left us by that time.
Actually, he never left, you know. Even when they were going through the terrible times, you know, he was there.
So he not left us, but you know what I mean. He wasn't, you know what I mean, with the temple anymore.
No, not necessarily. That shows you that these laws were actually given to you. Right?
Okay, good.
The heathen come, and even while these heathen were invading, you couldn't go in the Holy of Holy, but them go in there and go thief where they want thief out there and come out. Because the laws were for you. It's for you to follow. And actually, you are supposed to be the fence for them not going in the holies of holy. In other words, once you are keeping these laws, you'll be able to fight them off from coming in the temple. But once your temple gets overrun, they have access to everywhere inside the temple. And none of them fell to the ground the way that you would have fallen to the ground for punishment. Continue.
Canada 1 can. Slovakia.
Verse 23 now.
Slovakia. A second.
Yeah, 23.
Canada one
1
can.
Kings 6 and 23.
Cancer. And within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, each 10 cubits high. Verse 24. And 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the other wing of the cherub, from the uttermost part of the one wing unto the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits.
So 10 cubics span. So when the angel stretch out the wings from one point of one wing to the next point of the next wing, it was 10 cubits. It's about some 15 feet. And the room had 2 of those cherubs within there, with their wings outstretched. Continue.
Canada one can, verse 25. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubims were of one measure and one size.
Right, the 2 of them have the same size. So you notice in shows today, them show you like angels coming down to ground with them to earth, and they spread out them wing and fly come down.
Okay.
We knew of this from, this is what? This temple was built 400 and something years after coming out of Egypt. Something like 480 years after coming out of Egypt, this temple was built. And we knew about these winged angels then. So we knew about it long before them come show you in a movie now. As a matter of fact, it's the Bible I read and know about them.
Right.
Continue.
Canada one can, verse 26. The height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was it of the other cherub. Verse 27. And he set the cherubims within the inner house, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubims, so that the wing of the one touched the one, touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the midst of the house.
Right, so even though the wingspan was approximately 15 feet, when they put the cherubs side by side with their wing out, this one cherub wing touched this side of the wall, this wing touched this other cherub wing, and the other side of that other cherub wing touched the wall. So the 2 cherubs span the room with their wings out like this. Now that could have been a scary sight inside that Holy of Holies. That is why the priests, when them go in there, when John the Baptist's father was in the Holy of Holies and he saw a man standing in the Holy of Holies, he catch him afraid. Mother, what is this? Because in that place was not one for the faint of heart. The light up the lights in there, and the light, because remember they overlook. Read 28.
Canada one can, verse 28. And he overlaid the cherubims with gold.
Right, so when you light up the light within that Holy of Holies, and the reflection, the light hit the golden looking cherubs. I mean, it's supposed to look beautiful as well, because the wall itself was laid with gold. So it's like you're in a golden chamber.
God.
That could be beautiful, but it's a sight where if you had sin, that sight became scary to you. Because if you commit any sin, you couldn't go in there, you're going to drop down there. Continue.
Another one gone. Verse 29. And he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers within and without.
Right, so these are decorations now. 30.
Another one gone. Verse 30. And the floor of the house he overlaid with gold within and without.
So you see, you were even walking on gold. Gold on the walls, plated, gold on the floor.
God.
Damn.
Look here.
This is what you had lost. 31.
Another one gone. Verse 31. And for the entering of the oracle, he made doors of olive tree. The lintel and side posts were a fifth part of the wall.
Fifth part of the wall. So it means that, well, the lintel, we know lintel is the part over the door. So what you're talking about is the thing there. What we call today door jamb. The lintel, the part of, for the door, and the side post, which you would hang the door on. Today we call it door jamb. Fifth part of the wall. All right, 32.
Another one gone. Verse 32. The two doors also were of olive tree, and he carved upon them carvings of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubims and upon the palm trees.
Right, so even that palm tree carving that was in there was golden. You know, there's so much gold within there. I wonder if we can build anything similar to that again after. But then again, the next temple we get won't be built by man. 33.
Another one gone. Verse 33. So also made he for the door of the temple posts of olive tree, a fourth part of the wall.
Fourth part of the wall.
So like, that I talk about the thickness, like, you know, the wall itself would be the width of the stone. So the door wouldn't be that thick.
Well, yes, the door wouldn't be that thick, but also it could tell you where the wall is, where the door is positioned. You have the length of the wall, divided that length in five parts.
Okay.
So the door would be in the fifth part, or the door in the fourth part will tell you the positioning of the door.
Okay, good.
So this is the codes of communication that these that builders would use to know where to place the doors.
Good.
So I said the door is in the fifth part of the wall. So if the wall is 20 feet, you would put the door where?
The fifth part.
You divide 20 by what?
So the door would be like what? 4.
20 divided by 5, 4 feet, right?
Good.
So you take 4, 3, 4, 5 feet. 4 feet. And then the final 4 feet, the door would drop within that section, that part, the fourth part, or the fifth part.
Okay.
So these are codes of communication for builders, really. Continue.
Another one gun. Verse 34. And the two doors were of fir tree. The two leaves of the one door were folding, and the two leaves of the other door were folding.
All right, so these were folding doors. All right, so if these were folding doors, that's why I tell you. So you see that fourth part of the wall that the door was in, a big door, you know? the door would take up the whole other 4 feet there, or the 6 feet, whatever it might be. And these were huge folding doors, meaning, you know, folding doors still. Right. So you open it and you just bam and fold it, and it can open again. So these doors were to where the congregation would probably come in. These are huge doors to let in huge amount of people. Right. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 35. And he carved thereon cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, and covered them with gold fitted upon the carved work.
Decoration again. So what he used for the decoration, I think that was on the door, flowers with the cherubims and palm trees. These are looks of peace. 36.
Another one can. And he built the inner court with 3 rows of a huge stone and a row of cedar beams.
Next one.
Another one can. Verse 37. In the 4th year was the foundation of the house of the Lord laid. In the month 5th.
All right. So them start the foundation within Solomon's 4th year reign. And 38 says.
Another one can. Verse 38. And in the 11th year, in the month Bull, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So was he 7 years in building.
So so many thousands of people were in the working of the temple, and yet still it took 7 years. You know, if you have so many thousand workmen today as a workforce, you're building a city.
Right.
That amount of people today will be building a city. All right, go to Revelation 21.
Another one can.
Revelation 21. Let's start at verse. Let's start at verse 9.
Another one can. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 21 and verse 9. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will shew thee the bride, the Lamb's wife.
I'm not hearing you.
Salakia, sir. Me read it again. Salakia. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will shew thee the bride, the Lamb's wife.
All right. So that is, what is that talking about? That is when let me name again. John.
Okay.
Not the Baptist, but John the Revelator got his vision about the new city. So this city was built by one that you read about first, was built by King Solomon, built by man. And it wasn't a city, that was just a temple. And you see how splendid it was, and how many people it take to build that one temple. All right, so this one now that is coming, the next one that is coming, this is where this is the Most High's dwelling place now.
Okay.
Where the tabernacle of the Most High will be with man. And it says that 7 vials full of the last 7 plagues, and a sure bride, the Lamb's wife. All right, continue.
Canada 1 gun, verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God.
All right, so you know what this is true. I don't tell us now. 7 plagues are the last 7 plagues, but it's a last plague still, you know, 7 last plagues. But we don't know much plague will come before that. In some do them the same thing like we do them in first Egypt. You know, the first Egypt was 10 plague. Why they said 7 last plague was that by the time the Most High reached to the 7th plague, you're gonna start see a clear demarcation between who is the Most High's people and who is not the Most High's people. So probably that's why it's 7 last plagues. He's not saying it's just 7 plagues, you know, just saying it's the last 7. All right, so in the vision he was carried away in the spirit. Verse 11.
Canada 1 gun, verse 11. Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal.
All right, so this last city, Jerusalem now, which descended out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, meaning the Most High splendor was in that city. The Most High, it was, think of something being glorious, something which is to be looked upon. Just like the temple that Solomon built, it was a glorious temple in its days. All right, verse 21, verse 12.
12, cancer. Verse 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
All right. So this is, you know, the next thing that you use to show heathens are the naysayers who are still among your people, to show them that, hello, this new place that the Most High is going to give us is really a place where the Most High's 12 tribes, their names will be there. So the Eden tell you this like, this place won't be for you. It's only a name that will be on it.
So, yeah.
Which brings us back to what I was saying earlier. They want all the glory and thinking about, they just don't want you around. So even though it's in the Bible that the name of the 12 tribes is on the 12 gates of the new city Jerusalem, which is the kingdom of heaven, then they are going to tell her that it's only a name going to be on it, man. It's not for you. This is how disrespectful they are. Next verse.
Canada 1 can. Verse 13. On the east, 3 gates. On the north, 3 gates. On the south, 3 gates. And on the west, 3 gates.
Go on.
Verse 14. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb.
Christ's 12 disciples. 15.
Another one can, verse 15. And he that talk with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the walls thereof. Verse 16.
All right, so that golden reed is, think of like a tape measure to measure the city. 16.
Another one can, verse 16. And the city lieth 4 square, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal.
Now, can you 12,000 furlongs? How much furlong in a mile?
Okay.
You can get out a calculator.
Furlong, Slovakia. Now Google it, sir. Slovakia.
No man, calculator. Get a calculator. You have a bring up a calculator.
Hold on. Yeah, I mean, I have such a calculator.
You have it on the phone.
Yeah, but for the furlong, the conversion from furlongs to miles would be the problem. Slovakia.
No, give me that, man. Don't give me that. Just get out the calculator.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Slovakia, I may have it right here actually on Google still. You still want me to use a calculator?
Yeah, man.
All right. All right, gun.
All right, so 52 furlong. Sorry, there go again. 52 chain. How many chains give you a furlong? That you have to Google.
Yeah.
All right, how much mile in a furlong?
All right.
How much furlong in a
1 furlong equals to Slovakia, let me do it the other way. 1 mile is 7.9998 furlong. So basically 8 furlong.
All right. So 1 mile is approximately 8. Yeah. That is right. 52 chains give you the mile. 8 furlong give you the mile.
Okay.
So divide 12,000 by 8.
Another one can. $1,500 miles.
12,000 divided by 8 give you 1,500 miles. Is there any city itself that big today?
Yeah.
This is the new city, Jerusalem now. 1,500 miles long, 1,500 miles wide, 1,500 miles high. Can you think of that? How big that is? All right. Jamaica is just a small place on the small island on the map, right? But we live in Jamaica. We know that Jamaica big. You can't walk out Jamaica, right? You can't walk out Jamaica. You can't take a bicycle and ride out Jamaica.
Right.
Yet still, from Negril Point to Moran Point, you're talking about approximately 100 miles. You understand me?
Good.
So just imagine how many times Jamaica here can fit into that new city, Jerusalem. This is a huge place. And this new city, Jerusalem, is not built by hands. As it says in verse 10, he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. So this huge place come down unto us as a gift from the Most High. Now, if we were to build this in the same way that we build the temple in Solomon's time, at 1,400 miles long by 1,500 miles long by 1,500 miles wide, with streets. All right, where is streets? And then go to verse. All right, read verse 22.
Another one can. Verse 22. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it.
Okay. There was no temple. Who is now the temple?
Most High.
Lord God Almighty and Christ.
God.
So it's a most high and Christ were the temple that was in that city. So for no more can the heathens come and overrun our city and burn our temple.
Right.
All right. All right. Let me see where it tell about the streets. Tell about the gates. Tell about the walls. The length and breadth. Measure the wall.
So lucky, the measurement that it give for the wall would be like the width or the thickness of the wall.
Which verse that?
Verse 17. And he measured the wall here of 144 cubits.
Yeah, man, that's the thickness of the wall.
Thickness, gone.
I remember the height, remember the city is 1,500 miles long by 1,500 miles wide by 1,500 miles high.
Right.
And it's a walled city. So when you stand on ground, you think of the tallest building you have today. The walls of that city is still taller.
Good.
Still taller than it. Damn. 144 cubits, the thickness. According to the measure of a man, that is of angel. Because remember, these gates will be guarded by angels.
Good.
Right. And they tell you about the foundations of the wall, garnished with all manner of precious stones. Yeah. All right, there is one description. I don't see. Okay, here it is. Verse 21.
Another one can. Verse 21. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass.
So this was not just gold, but it was polished gold, shine.
God.
So the streets is not tar you're driving on. It's not blacktop like we have in the road today. The streets, 1,500 miles of gold overlaid these streets. Now think of we building even the streets that them have gold. That alone will take us a couple of years to build.
Can.
So this and he promised us that we who stand for him here in the end, we in the truth, who serve the purpose of waking up our people, he promised us that we should walk into the temple, into the new city Jerusalem. So, you know, this size city would take more than our lifetime to build by us. So, you know, really and truly, this is a gift that is coming down out of heaven unto us. All right, so any questions?
Yeah, sir, no question.
Any questions here? Any questions, young man? All right, so with that, we pass the class to Prison Officer Kayadwan.
All right, clap it up.
Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Wake it up, wake it up, wake it up.
All right, these are the ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, you can find this in the book of Numbers chapter 18 verse 21 and Malachi chapter 3 verse 8 to 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew and is pronounced ma'ashra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests. Not mandatory, whatsoever amount you'd like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation, that is the Passover, and that is at Cocoa Beach, Florida. You know what I mean? The ad will be playing, you know what I mean, at the end of this class. You know what I mean? So if you can reach, you understand? You know what I mean? It's for all Israel. You understand? For blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? All right. Reminding Akiam and Aquatium to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he's to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, we say imadium, which means to stand. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew and then in English. Sar Wapanya Akodam, which means turn and face the east. Abanawa. Shabashamayam. Kwadash. Aya. Shamka. Yahweh. Malakwatka. Taba'a. Ratazaka. Aya. Aisha.
Aisha,
Wa'arataza,
Warataza,
Kawa,
Kawa,
Aya,
Aya,
Washamayam,
Shamayam,
Nathan Lanawa,
Nathan Lanawa,
Yakam,
Nakam,
Kal,
Kal,
Yawam,
Yawam,
Wasalak Lanawa,
Wasalak Lanawa,
Kawabwat Nawa,
Kawabwat Nawa,
Kasalak Nawa,
Kasalak Nawa,
Kawabwat Yanawa,
Kawabwat Yanawa,
Wala'a,
Wala'a,
Tabaya Anawa,
Tabaya Nawa,
Panasayawan,
Panasayawan,
Abad,
Aban,
Awashainawa,
Awashainawa,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Rai,
Rai,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Laka, Amalakwat,
Amalakwat,
Wa'ala,
Wahala,
Wahatapara,
Watapara,
La Iwalamiam,
Nawalan,
Aman.
Amen. In English, Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever so be.
forever so be it.
Cry for the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh,
Blessed are you, Yahweh,
King of heaven and earth,
King of heaven and earth,
and all things living.
and all things living.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahweh,
in the name of Yahweh,
listen to us now,
listen to us now,
right now.
right now.
Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction
Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction
to the heathen
to the heathens
that speak against us,
that speak against us,
thy prophets,
thy prophets,
the teachers,
the teachers,
the princes,
the princes,
the priests,
the priests,
the Israelite brothers and the school.
the Israelite brothers and the school.
Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction
Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction
to the heathen,
to the heathen,
and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel
and shake loose the treasures of the rich of Israel
that refuse to give to the school.
that refuse to give to the school.
Force their riches to enter into thy sanctuary.
Force their riches to enter into thy sanctuary.
Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction
Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction
to the Edomites
to the Edomites
and their nations,
and their
and the
nation,
nation,
Slakia, and the
and
nation,
their drug dealers,
and their drug dealers,
the court system,
the court system,
the prison system,
the prison system,
Planned Parenthood,
Planned Parenthood,
all the governments of our enemies,
all the governments of our enemies,
Amalek synagogues and armies,
Amalek synagogues and armies,
Roman Catholic Church,
Roman Catholic Church,
the Pope,
the Pope,
Islam,
Islam,
Christianity,
Christianity,
Egyptology,
Egyptology,
militia,
militia,
Ku Klux Klan,
Ku Klux Klan,
Aryan Nation,
Aryan Nation,
Skinheads,
Skinheads,
Posse Comitazi,
Posse Comitazi,
the gay movement,
gay movement,
the lesbian movement,
the lesbian movement,
spies,
spies,
workers of witchcraft,
workers of witchcraft,
NASA space programs,
NASA space program,
Army,
Army,
Navy,
Navy,
Air Force,
Air Force,
Marines,
Marines,
Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Open up the internet and the airways.
Open up the internet and the airways.
The cable access channels.
Cable access channels.
And the radio channels.
And the radio channels.
Convict the spirit of any of thy people.
Convict the spirit of any of thy people.
That seek to stop us.
That seek to stop us.
And bring swift destruction to all the Eden.
And bring swift destruction to all the Edens.
That stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words.
That stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words.
Throughout the planet Earth.
Throughout the planet Earth.
Let loose all the plagues.
Let loose all the plagues.
Cause them to go to and fro.
Cause them to go to and fro.
Through the earth.
Through the earth.
And consume them.
And consume them.
Let the plague shake the house of the thief and the murderer.
Let the plague shake the house of the thief and the murderer.
Let Yahawashi, Michael, and Gabriel.
Let Yahawashi, Michael, and Gabriel.
Come down with the flying saucers.
Come down with the flying saucers.
And punish all the Edens.
And punish all the Edens.
That come up against us.
That come up against us.
As we speak thy word.
As we speak thy word.
Cause it to be known by all.
Cause it to be known by all.
That it is the angels that have done it.
That it is the angels that has done it.
Cause it to be spread through the media.
Cause it to be spread through the media.
Throughout the whole world.
Throughout the whole world.
Cause them to shake at thy coming.
Cause them to shake at thy coming.
In the name of Yahweh, I thank you always so be.
In the name of Yahweh, I thank you always so be.
Prayer for the power.
All right, this is the prayer for the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'asham Yahawashi.
Ba'asham Yahawashi.
Baba Kosha.
Baba Kosha.
Nathan Lanawa.
Nathan Lanawa.
Akak.
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 Larapa'a.
Larapa'a.
Kalmakala.
Kalmakala.
Wakalmadawa.
Wakalmadawa.
Akak.
Akak.
Lata'ar.
Latahar.
Amatazarayam.
Amatazarayam.
Akak.
Akak.
La Akwayam.
La Akwayam.
Amathiam.
Amathiam.
Akak.
Akak.
Airakawat.
Airakawat.
Atamala.
Atamala.
La Garashan.
La Garashan.
Ba'asham Yahawashi.
Ba'asham Yahawashi.
THAWADAH, man.
THAWADAH, man. In English, Yahweh in the name of Yahweh.
Yahweh in the name of Yahweh.
Please give us the power.
Please give us the power.
The power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
The power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to raise the dead.
The power to raise the dead.
Power against unclean spirits.
The power against unclean spirits.
To cast them out in the name of Yahweh.
To cast them out in the name of Yahweh.
Thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it. All right, let me pull up a prayer for the power, for the blessings to lock you. All right, this is the prayer for the blessings in the Hebrew. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'asham Yahawashi.
Ba'asham Yahawashi.
Barak Lanawa.
Barak Lanawa.
Wayasharala.
Wayasharala.
Wa'a.
Waha.
Bayatsapariam.
Bayatsapariam.
Barak.
Barak.
Rapa'a.
Rapa'a.
Magan.
Magan.
Hagan.
Hagan.
Commanding General YAHANNA.
Commanding General YAHANNA.
the generals,
The generals,
captains,
the captains,
the officers,
the officers,
the troopers,
troopers,
the young men and the sisters,
the young men and the sisters.
Basham Yahawashai,
Basham Yahawashai,
THAWADAH man.
THAWADAH man. All right, in English, what we have just said is Yahweh in the name of Yahawashi. Bless us and Israel and the school. Bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones. In the name of Yahawashi, thank you, so be.
All right, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher, men of Israel. Imagine Shabbat. Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Basham Yahawashai Brakatah.
Yahweh Basham Yahawashai Brakatah.
We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sister, men of Israel. Turn and face the sister. Men of Israel, Imadium Shabbat. Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Alatan Basham Yahawashai.
Yahweh Shamar Alatan Bahasham Yahawashai.
Yadamata. Class dismissed.
All right. To our online viewers, please remember to like, subscribe, share our videos. Remember to pay tithes to Commanding General YAHANNA and to the I.S.U.P.K. actually. ISUPK.com to pay your tithes. How do I do this again? Share. Screen share.
I.S.U.P.K. 53rd Annual Lord Passover.
53rd Annual Lord's Passover is going to be held down here in Florida.
It's going down.
You are here tonight to get a chance to be righteous enough to be worthy of God coming to save you and your
That's right.
It's going down. The Lord's 53rd Annual Passover.
When we say we no cowards, we stop that business. We no cowards up in here.
Book your hotels now at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, the IHG Hotel, 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32926.
It's a lot of men down. You dealing with the men of war. We at war. I sided with the Lord of Lords. On one and two. We ain't never stopping.
Comes with all your dishes, pots, and sports knives.
Kind of like this. This is like an apartment and a hotel. You know what I mean? This here right here is about to be holy ground. This is going to be holy ground. All our beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters from all over the world. You understand? We can boast that now. Brothers and sisters coming not only from every state, but from all over the world. I heard the numbers this year is ridiculous. We had to buy out the whole hotel.
Friday, April 15th at the Space Coast Convention Center.
My cap undefeated. You cannot debate. You just want the clout. We just want the grades. I'm just trying to get it.
This is going to be glorious.
got it out the mud, straight up out the base.
Remember to fill in your sign-in sheet online. Goes towards the 90 days in you getting your Hebrew name. Shalom.